So what I've decided to do, instead of doing what came with the package, is to get a 4-way switch, because that gives me more configuration options. I've decided to add a treble bleed, and I'm putting in a capacitor or a resistor that balances out the single coils and the humbuckers on the 500K pots. This week we get the neck dialed in on a learning curve. Hi, I'm Spencer Dobson. Thanks for watching Learning Curve. If this is your first episode, we're at the very end of a series I did on building a kit guitar from StewMac. It's a Telecaster style guitar. I've got videos that cover all the process the whole way through, so if you want to check those out, there's a link. It's probably there-ish. Maybe there. No, there. You'll find it. It's the link. Just click on the... It's fine. It's fine. Okay, this week we are talking about what I considered the most stressful part of this build. I think it's the part that if you do not have any experience working with guitars at all, is why maybe you want to hold off on this project until you know a little more. I didn't think this part was beginner level in any way, shape, or form. Maybe that's because of my own experience, but this week I'm talking about setting up the neck and all the stuff that went into doing that. Look, I find working on the neck stressful because if you make mistakes on the neck, sometimes there's stuff that you just can't undo. So while I am going to walk you through the processes I went through and show you how I did what I did, I can't urge you enough to do your homework. I'm going to put links to everything that I used to get me where I got to in the description, but I want to suggest you also really follow up and do the homework. Prior to this project, I considered neck work kind of impossible and something I didn't want to deal with, but I was put in a situation where I had to do it, and I'm glad I did. It is possible to learn how to work on a neck. Again, do your homework, take your time, be patient. Let's dig in. Okay, the first thing I did was string up the neck using this. They give you like a cheap pair of strings to do this kind of stuff with. So I put the strings on it, and just to get kind of an idea of where we were at fret-wise. The guitar comes with a 14-inch radius, which to me is a very flat neck, and it's not something I'm super familiar with. I did the initial fret work, and mostly I was focusing on getting the lacquer off of the frets, and I didn't really, I guess, dig into it too much because I wanted to see how it would sound once it was strung up, you know, where there were issues. If I don't have to do anything, I'd rather not do anything because, again, I find working on frets a little stressful and a little intimidating. Now, the guitar was having none of that. The guitar decided that there was going to be a great deal of work done on these frets and a great deal of attention paid to them, and I was going to have to up my game a lot. The first thing I did was adjust the truss rod, and I spent about 2 days doing it, just making little adjustments, letting it settle, little adjustment, making it settle, little adjustment, letting it settle. So I'm about 2 days of quarter turns in. I'm letting it sit for between an hour and several hours, and now the high E, the functioning high E, the B, getting better. That's clearly better. So after, I think 2 days, 2.5 days of the adjust, let it sit process, I got the neck to where you know, everything's measuring properly. It's where it's supposed to be. And a lot of the notes sound good, but I figured out really quickly that there was going to be more fretwork to be done on this guitar, and that's all there is to it. The first thing I was going to have to do is level the frets, as I had not done a very good job in the first place. So that means all of that bowing I had just done now needs to be undone. So we're doing quarter turns back. We're flattening the neck out until it's perfectly flat. Look, I'm going to post a lot of videos in the description about how to level frets. If you're going to do this, do your homework before you do it. It's not that hard. But again, as I keep saying, you don't want to screw it up, because that causes you a whole new world of problems. Basically what I do, I use my string height gauge, which is a square piece of metal, as a rocker to figure out if we have any high frets. What you're doing is you're using the fret as a fulcrum, and you're rocking the thing back and forth. If it's level, if the frets are level, it's not going to rock. If the fret you're on is high, when you put the rocker on it, it's going to rock. So then you take your Sharpie and you put a mark on it, and then you keep going all the way up the neck. Now you will notice when you get to the higher frets that thing is going to be too wide. So I use a business card. Some people use a credit card. There is a special tool designed specifically for this job that you can buy, but it costs money and a pretty fair amount of money for a little oddly shaped piece of metal. So at this point, I'm working with the homemade tools. I'm not saying that's the way that you should do it. I'm saying that's what happened. Once I figured out where all the problem spots are, I take my leveling beam. I go real slow. I go real careful. I just try to get it so the magic marker's gone. And I did have one fret that needed a lot of attention. I don't know why it was so high. I had gone through and hit everything with a mallet beforehand, but I'm kind of new at this, so, you know, you make mistakes. But I got it to where it worked. It was like the 21st fret. So it's really important to get that one. They're all important to get them all right, but the A string comes in handy from time to time. So anyway, I really had to work the 21st fret. It seemed like a great deal to get it to where I needed it, but it got there. You know, again, measure, you know, take your time. Don't hurry. Don't get frustrated. You can do it. You just have to be patient. As I keep saying, I will put videos in the description on how to finish the frets. When I'm finishing off the frets, the first thing I do is I use a trick that I saw on a video from a gentleman named Robert Baker. You may have seen his channel before. I don't remember the exact video, but he suggests instead of taping off the whole neck, that you just tape off the fret you're working on, and then move the tape to the next fret when you're done. And that works great. Now, I do have one of those files that has the diamonds on the inside of it, but I don't like it because you can't see what you're doing, and I don't trust myself enough. So I bought a file on Amazon. It's a fret file. I think it was $12, and I try to do the thing where you roll the file to conform with the shape of the fret. I'm getting okay at it. It's getting better, you know. And then I use a microfiber pad. So I use one of the coarser mesh pads, and then I use a the finest mesh pad that I've got, and that finishes them off. And I gotta say, you know, like I said, I'm gonna give you a lot of reference material, but I'm getting there. I'm getting pretty happy with the way my frets are turning out. I'm excited about that. I didn't think I could do it. So once I've got everything set up, I've got the action set the way they suggest to set it. I've got the frets are in good shape. We've got a nice bow in the neck. And you can go up and down the neck just fine. The problem is, on some of the bends, it's like I hit a brick wall. I don't know what's going on here. What was happening was the strings were choking out, okay? And one of the problems I had was I didn't know that that's what you called it. If you Google my strings are choking when I bend, you'll get answers, but I didn't know what to call it. So I Googled like dead string. And eventually I found a term close enough that I landed on choking. And then I found a video that explained what was going on. My neck has a 14-inch radius, which is pretty flat. But even so, basically, necks are curved. And when you bend a note up, it's got to clear the frets differently than if it was going straight. I have attached a video that explains it really well. I reckon, no offense to the guy that made this video, but he gets to the nuts and bolts at about 2:08. And before that, he's just kind of talking about stuff, and that's fine. It's good to talk about stuff. The solution for choking is generally raising the saddles. You know, what I'm learning the more I do this is there are recommended specifications, like how high you should set stuff, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the guitar is going to tell you where it needs to be. If the guitar is set to spec but doesn't work, then change it till it works, right? And I know for some of you it's like, well, duh. But some of you, you know, might be fighting a neck that for some reason isn't going to work if you know, set the string height as exactly the way they say to set the string height. Especially if you're doing something like this where you're building it, where you're not a machine putting together a guitar. You're a person, so you have to adapt a little bit. That's all. So now the directions tell me that I have to adjust the nut height, and I don't want to. That seems very scary, and it seems like something you're going to screw up. And I figure I'll just skip it altogether and it'll be fine. But then this happened. That's not acceptable, and that only happens when I use the first fret to do things like play an E major chord, which I only use all the time, every day. Initially, I was hoping I could just go around the whole thing. I ordered a Graph Tech nut because I just replaced something else with a Graph Tech nut. It was really easy to put in, and I didn't have to adjust anything. But that got stuck in the mail, so it was time to learn how to adjust the nut. And as I've mentioned, it was terrifying. Now, you can go and find files made specifically for filing nuts, and they cost money, fair amount of money. What I decided to do was one of the videos I watched, a gentleman was using these. I believe they're actually for cleaning jewelry. His came on a ring, mine came in a little pack. It gives you a wide range of files. They're small. It was like $6-7, no big deal. And then you can also get feeler gauges, and if you get specifically guitar feeler gauges, they also cost a pretty fair amount of money. But if you buy the exact same thing, except it's a feeler gauge for a spark plug, now it's a lot less money for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how that works. That's not my rule. I didn't set that up, but I went to O'Reilly Auto Parts, which is my new luthier outlet store. And yeah, so I got my feeler gauges $6, and they work great. It's .010 is the one that you're going to use for this height. You put you put a capo on the 3rd fret, and then you want a clearance of .010, which is also the exact. If you buy a set of 10 gauge strings, the high E is the radius is .010. If you want to go that way, and there's also some like do-it-yourself stuff will be in the description. But I went with these, and I like them. The trouble with these files was they don't tell you what size any of the files are, and initially I was really concerned about that, but you just put it in the slot and it's the file that fits. That was the easiest pie, and it was not even it wasn't difficult to figure it out. It was like, oh, it's that one, it's the one that fits perfect. Now the filing process, like everything else, you can screw it up. So file a little, measure a little, file a little. And it was, I was nervous, to be honest with you. And I will attach a video that'll explain the process. But basically, I went down across, like, if this is the nut, I'm going like this, right, towards the headstock, and then across, down and across. Because you want the string, you want the nut like that, so the string has as little contact with the nut as possible. That's what you're trying to do, which I did not know until we started doing this process. And it's not that hard. But it was also one of those things where you'd think it's done, you don't want to overdo it, so you restring the guitar, you tune it up, you play it for a little while, and then you go, maybe a little bit more. And I check it, play it, adjust, and then play it some more, and then adjust. It took about between 4 days and a week of just, starting, stopping, picking it up, putting it down. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure there are people in the world that can just set up a guitar. They're called professionals. They can set up a guitar the first day and you can walk out of there and that guitar is good to go. But I'm not that. I'm a guy who's learning how to work on guitars. So I have to take my time and go slow. Now, I realize after watching this video, you're thinking this could be called, like, this guitar neck was a lot more work than I thought it would be, and I'm kind of grumpy about it. But to be honest with you, I really enjoyed it. It pushed me to do a lot of stuff that I did not think I could do and that I was afraid to do, and that now I'm far more comfortable with. So moving forward from this guitar neck, I have a world of knowledge that I wouldn't have had if this guitar neck just bolted on and worked perfectly. So I'm actually really happy with it, and I really like the way it is now. I think it turned out great. I can't believe that I was involved at all, I think that's part of the great thing about building guitars. When you can buy an awesome guitar, and that's awesome, but when you build the guitar, you have a history with it, like you're part of the guitar. And that's just kind of awesome. I feel like a real connection with this guitar now because of this whole process. So there. Okay, well, that's my StewMac build. Next week, I'm going to do just a quick video to give you a run-through of like some takeaways, some follow-up. I'm going to run you through some tones. I'm going to share a couple more thoughts on the matter. I hope you've enjoyed watching this series as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you build a guitar, I hope you enjoyed as much as the one that I built, because I'm very happy with this guitar. And there's still some tweaks. I think it's going to be about a month or two before I'm done. It's perfect, but I can see the potential, and I like the choices I made. Okay, I'm Spencer Dobson. Thank you for watching Learning Curve. If you do me a favor and subscribe and click the little bell and click the like and tell your friends and call your relatives and send out the alumni letter at your preschool. Anyway, help me share the show if you like the show. Also, just thanks for watching, man. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Learning Curve Guitar. My name's Spencer Dobson. Thanks for watching. Be nice to each other. We'll see you next time.